So, how do you think the Third World War would happen? First, obviously, NATO and Russia and China would be part of the alliance, while Belarus would also come in along with Central Asian nations that would support US. Turkey, which is reluctant with NATO, and other NATO members such as Sweden and Finland, and Arabia, siding with the East. Vietnam and Philippines would be part of the Western Bloc, along with Korea and Japan, and African nations would be part of Russia, and most of Latin America would be included in the West except Brazil and Venezuela. We can also see that other majority of African countries such as South Africa are part of the Russian alliance, and Australia and New Zealand would be part of the US. So in terms of major cities such as Paris, Berlin, Stockholm, Norway, Madrid or Athens would be mainly affected. In Russia would include Moscow, Yekaterinburg, Grozny, Omsk, Surgut, Vladivostok, or Novosibirsk, or Krasnoyarsk, or Ituruk. Other cities would include Brazil, New York, Connecticut, San Francisco, Guangzhou, Shanghai, Beijing, Sydney, Tehran, Rome, Mexico City, Miami. And how would the East advance in the West? In the Pacific front, China would work on the Pacific front by invading Japan, Korea, Vietnam, while Russia would delve into the European plains in Africa, push their soldiers along the boundaries. It may be hard for Ethiopia sometimes. The West may also prepare a counteroffensive while countering soldiers, especially hard places in Ethiopia, Amazon, or in Australia. However, the number of soldiers, especially in the Pacific front or in Eastern Europe, would be hard for the West. The North American continent would be very hard to invade without a sufficient manpower of both the Sino-Russian alliance, and if the war has been won by the Western side, the eastern countries would be divided in many territories, with many replaced by democratic governments, Russia and China being split into multiple territories, leaving them only a fraction of their powers. If the East won, the Soviet Union would obviously come back, and China would absorb some of its eastern enemies. Japan split between pro-China and pro-Russia governments, Brazil taking up many territories, US and Canada split into different spheres of both Chinese and Russian influence, different states such as Texas and Florida succeeding for the US, different communists and nationalist governments in Europe, and Australia being split